MVP. We're obviously not going to pull that up because of the issues. Going to go straight into pick ban. And Gala, once again, gets his Kai'Sa.
Yeah, EDG, this feels almost like they don't respect Gala's Kai'Sa at this point to me. It feels like they are really not concerned about that as a pick. So he gets it again. They get the Udyr, they get an Orianna. This feels completely fine for RNG, but at the same time for EDG. You've got a Rel and a Hecarim together. That's already a power combo.
So we have 5 of the same picks from the Game 2 draft. The only difference is that time EDG had Alistar, this time they do have the Rel. So that is feeling a bit better for them. The Gnar is still open. That's actually what they opted into last time in this scenario. But Flandre's Jace has been a sight to behold, still sitting undefeated on it. He's an exceptional laner on this pick. And, you know, maybe it's time for Flandre to get his way in this top lane matchup.
And once again, it kind of denies the Gnar pick to an extent. We have seen LPL top laners pick Gnar into Jace regardless, though. We literally saw that last game. Whether or not that will be the case here for RNG is another question. Support being hovered. Rakan, we've seen a reasonable amount of. Ming gonna lock that in. And Ming, I think Ming and Crisp have been 2 of the Rakans that have surprised me the most and impressed me the most. But the Gnar, again, picked into the Jace. Xiaohu, he don't give a monkeys.
I'm surprised because Xiaohu's the type of player who I would have expected to go towards something like the Sion, right? Sure, you're still going to lose out in that early laning phase, but being that big front line for your team, that's actually a route Xiaohu has played quite often this split, going towards the Ornn, going towards the Sion, and taking up that front line role. RNG's draft is very interesting because there's no true tank on their side. But now EDG, this time around, are the ones opting into a bit more early pressure, having that winning top lane matchup, as well as having the pressure in the mid lane. But again, this isn't the same matchup that it used to be, and I definitely think Orianna has a fine time going into Syndra these days.
Yeah, Scout only played Syndra 3 times this split, and let's be honest, Syndra's win rate across the LPL is sub 40%. It has not been a good split for Syndra as a species. But again, as you rightly say, a lot of early pressure here for EDG. Great lane match up top. A reasonable enough matchup mid that I don't think Scout is going to be under severe pressure, and it feels like there are tools here for EDG to fight in the early game, and that's what we've been wanting all series long.
And that's what's going to be the most interesting thing to me, is seeing what they do with this matchup in the mid lane. Because again, after all the nerfs, Syndra has some mana issues. It's very hard for her to find that same kill pressure, but she can still get pressure in this early laning phase. We have seen and talked about many times that Jijia and Scout have liked to link up in a lot of their successful series. Even though they have Jace in the top lane, I still expect him to play more on bot. Maybe give him a gank in the early game, but then still you're all inning on the Viper train. That is typically their go-to strat, even when they pick up this champion.
Yeah, all inning on Viper. It's been a strategy that's worked out for them in the past, but not in this series. Viper's been very quiet in this series. His Senna, though, in the last game, finally having a good performance during some of those fights despite the rough early laning phase. But Gala has been getting the edge in the AD carry matchup, and it's been in this Kai'Sa versus Tristana matchup that Gala has been finding that edge, one-shotting Viper in the fights. And we'll have to see if RNG can find that strength that they had in game number 1 and 2, if they can keep this momentum rolling, or if EDG will be able to do the same thing back to them. With the most recent win, EDG, they're the ones that are, on a roll right now. They're the ones that can keep this moving forward, but they're also against the ropes. So remember, before today, these two teams were 3-3 in playoff series all time. They were 12-12 in playoff games for all time. This series decides who is the more successful team in their rivalry. And EDG would love to get another game, get another chance at proving themselves.
And these drafts are very interesting to me, Munchables, because despite the fact that we said, hey, EDG have some tools to get ahead early, I don't think EDG in these mid to late game teamfights are slouches by any means. This is not the same as last game with RNG's comp because, right, Jace this time around able to throw out that poke, but there isn't that much as much threat on the enemy side, in my opinion, because sure, Udyr can run at you. You do have the flash stun. Not always a reliable tool that is going to be on a cooldown. Xiaohu as well, either going to have to be able to E and get the double jump onto someone to find that way in, find a flank, or use flash. And Rakan is very much more of a follow-up engaged champion rather than a straight-up engager himself because of how squishy he is. So I actually think EDG shouldn't feel too much threat in skirmishes later on, and then you yourself have a big front line with the Rel and Hecarim, and you have these big damage dealers able to put out damage on the back line. So despite the fact that RNG's comp looks more like a traditional, like, hey, we scale, we have front-to-back team fighting, I think it's going to come a lot more down to the details.
Which is often the way in the LPL as well, let's be honest. There are a couple of teams in the LPL that do try and play the sort of quote-unquote perfect style where they're trying to play correct League of Legends, and I would say EDG fall in that category. Nice little knock up there from Ming. It's just going to be a bit of damage onto Viper, but still, it's a clean play. And, you know, here's the thing, right? Viper's playing Tristana. This bot lane is going to be pushing consistently. You can see Wei is finishing his clear towards this bottom side, and you can potentially see that RNG could look for an opportunity there onto Viper and Mako.
Oh, yeah, we see Wei making his way down now.
Good,
EDG's bot lane, though, paying the respect.
Mako's going to face check into this one and get caught. Crash down. Going to be used to get himself a shield. Flashes over the wall, and he's fine. It's just going to be 2 summoners used. Now Xiaohu looking to trade very aggressively onto Flandre on the top side. It's meant to be Jace favored, but that's a good trade for Xiaohu.
And those are the windows you need to take, right? Because when you are Mega Gnar, those all-in windows are actually when you end up beating Jace, get in on top of him, find that stun with the W, and even out the trade. It goes back commonly to, if you ever hear casters say, like, make the matchup more volatile, or analysts say something like that. Those are the trades you are looking for. Because those are the trades where you can also then pair up with your jungler and then find a lot more advantages off of that. I do like, though, that RNG blew summoner spells down in the bot lane.
That's not one of the trades we were talking about. That's not the right trade.
That is definitely not making the matchup volatile. That is just kind of walking in and giving Flandre some free damage. But on the opposite side of the map, Wei's still hovering around bot side. He's sitting in the tri-brush right now, just trying to look like bait EDG into a fight with clearing vision.
Oh,
isn't able to interrupt.
As the W gets out with his life. You can see Ming there just trying to look juicy. He's like, oh no, I'm caught out. Somebody save me. Trying to bait them into the all-in. But Wei was hiding there the whole time. You can't fool EDG.
No, and we're still going to see some nice trading. And this is one of the reasons why we see Rakan pick so regularly into the Rel, right? You can not only like cancel things like the crash down, you have a lot of mobility, which makes it hard for her to like land her stun. You're able to get in there and get those really fast trades. EDG don't have a wave, but with JJ being full HP, I thought maybe they would still want to opt for it, but JJ is going to take the respectful decision. Looks like he's making his way back to clearing his jungle back up towards that top half of the map.
Yeah, it feels like we're seeing a lot of potential action towards the bot lane, but nobody quite pulling the trigger. And that feels like the story of a lot of this series so far. Especially game number 1 and 2. We saw a lot of posturing for fights without ever actually going for the fights. And it's feeling a little reminiscent of that. But important to mention again, EDG this time the ones that actually have to push the tempo in this game, especially with this Syndra. Got to keep our eyes on Scout, because looking at that lane right now, Scout with a significant CS advantage could look to try and get out of the lane as Flandre is just bullying Xiaohu. He's in the wrong position, forced to flash out here. And Flandre starting to push the advantage. Wei now forced out in the mid lane as well, crying. Barely dodges the stun there. That was a close one. Mako's arrived. Wei forced the flash. And EDG getting the best of these trades.
True, 2 flashes burnt in those last 2 exchanges. I want to go back towards that topside one, though, because Flandre making a great use of Fog of War, playing around these brushes beautifully, and then constantly getting out on top where he's getting all of these free autos onto Xiaohu and also finding his way behind him. So, again, Flandre's Jace is undefeated this split. It is 6-0. Would be 7-0 if he does pick up the win here today. And I think EDG have done a really good job at coming ahead in a very solid early game.
Yeah, Flandre, when he's given the tools, is an exceptional laner. And it feels like that's been the story of this split, right? Is a lot of the time he hasn't been given the tools. A lot of the time he's on, for example, Sejuani top duty. We do have a 2v2 in the bottom side here. Mako forced out of the lane. I don't think much will come of that one. The threat of the dive in the top side from EDG, and RNG try and answer in the bottom side in the meantime. It's not going to happen. But yeah, when he's given tools, when he's given a carry, Flandre is the kind of player that will step up to the plate. Wei threatening this dive still, continuing that, because he knows that JJ is taking his whole top side right now. He has to answer on the bottom side.
And it's so interesting that this is how we end up, right? It's like a split map situation. EDG being the team to play towards their topside pressure, RNG playing around the advantages they found in their bot lane because there's CS advantages on both sides of the map. I like that RNG are going to turn this into an early dragon. And on the side of JJ, he's just getting more gold. We've talked about how, again, even later into the game, their composition doesn't really fall off that hard. It will be fine. And it looks like they're just going to try to punish Xiaohu to the utmost that they're able to. And this looks like it's going to be a dive.
It might be, but Xiaohu's about to turn Mega, which does make this a lot harder to execute on. Will have his ultimate available, jumps away, gets both of the carries. Xiaohu, I don't even care that he died. That was beautiful.
I almost thought he had it. Even if he'd been able to trade a 1-for-1, that would have been worth for him, right? 3 members dedicated towards your side of the map. But still, EDG have enough damage to pull it off the Jace, the Syndra. Jeje is there. So this will be more turret plating for Flandre. This will be more gold and EXP denied from Xiaohu. And you're just winning from your points of power, which is exactly what EDG weren't doing in Game 1, right? They drafted not exactly a similar comp, but a similar comp in the sense of like, hey, we want to see you play more around your soul lanes. We want to see you play more around side pressure. They weren't doing that. It's great to see the adaptation coming in with this different set of champions. But RNG using their tempo window to try and take this Herald.
A lot of pings coming down from EDG, though. You can see a lot of on-the-way pings being spammed there. I think the call has been to back away, though. Scout can't face check in on his own. Wei should be able to finish this off before the contest. JJ has just arrived and maybe can deny the Eye of the Herald here. Importantly, JJ also gets a chicken that was somehow in the river. Thanks, Scout. Appreciate that one, buddy. Xiaohu grabs the Eye of the Herald in the end. Posturing for a fight, but it never happens.
Yeah, no ultimate on either JJ or Scout. So it's probably why they don't want to opt into that one. You see that a lot of the core members of RNG do have their ultimate. Xiaohu's was just about to come up. It is nice that they were able to get it. Even if RNG didn't get that Herald, I actually don't think it would be like a huge issue. The fact that they're able to deny it from the team that has the winning top side would still be a bit of a win in and of itself.
And you know what, Lyric? We talked about the veterans having to, keep the morale high for the team, and Scout realizing that they're not going to get their Herald. W's the large chicken so that you can throw it down in the river, give JJ something to get. In the meantime, Herald is dropped in the top side. Xiaohu will be able to get a bunch of plates here. Flandre respects it and flashes away. And this will just be a bunch of gold given over to Xiaohu. They won't be able to finish the tower here, but you can see EDG answering in the bottom side as JJ looks for some Krugs. Viper's just proxying a wave. Won't be able to get a second plate just yet. Has to wait for more minions. But should be able to get at least one more plate with his E. Scout moving down. We could have a bit of a brawl. If Cryan face checks Scout, he can get one shot, but Scout's been spotted. Scout actually is in a bit of trouble right here. Gala could ult forward for him. Is going to go for the play. Has this rate Dirk, but it doesn't matter because Ming just gets one shot. Gala's down as well. And EDG, great bait.
Yeah, that was really well played from Scout. Lands the initial scout of the week to make sure Wei doesn't get on top of him. Wei's flash is already down. Then we see Ming coming in. Scout flashes that. And guess what? RNG, once again, are just a bunch of members tunneled into a choke point against EDG, and they capitalize.
EDG have been so good in these close proximity fights, and Mako, I mean, he's playing Rel. Everyone groups up together. He just jumps in. It's like his birthday. Gets all of the CC off onto everyone. And the rest is just easy pickings. Gala went too deep. He saw the opportunity. I could see it as well. I could see what he was going for. But it was all an illusion. He was like walking through the desert. It was a mirage.
Yeah, and again, just throws out the Q, gets the scout of the week as Wei tries to jump in. Multiple members followed up. And again, they're just clumped together. It sets up too easily for both JJ and Mako to follow up. Viper then able to jump in as well, get some damage down, and lock in an assist as well.
And that shockwave onto 3 people is the pain that is early game Orianna. Doesn't have any damage yet. And sure, you hit the shockwave, but it doesn't do anything. It's an unfortunate sight to look at. But it's a fantastic sight to look at if you're an EDG fan. If you want to see this series go to 5 games, EDG have a 2,000 gold lead for themselves as we head towards the 12-minute mark. The next Drake is up in a minute. And it feels like RNG perhaps have to start forcing the issue a little bit and maybe try and contest.
And for RNG, right, we saw the Herald drop topside, and EDG consciously made the choice to go bot. I think that's the right call for EDG because it's like, sure, Xiaohu does get some turret plates, get some gold, but Flandre doesn't necessarily fall behind from that play because he didn't get Dove or anything like that. And it feels like for RNG, their comp is all about setting up Gala. He's going to need to be the one either hitting frontline or following in certain members to get that assassination onto the squishy backline. So I think denying Gala some gold in that previous exchange was a good thing for EDG.
Oh, look at that ward in the river. Spots out crying on the roam, and it means that now the play can happen on the bottom side. EDG looking for Gala. The fear will find two. In goes Viper for a bit of redemption. JJ cuts down Ming for the kill. And this is an opportunity now on the bottom side to look for a tower. In the meantime, Wei and Xiaohu will find the first tower of the game.
The thing is, EDG just gets so much more off this, right? They not only get a kill, not only get what should be bot lane turret, they're going to pick up a dragon as well. They're setting behind the key member in RNG's composition if they want to deal dragon. Actually, Munchables, I was wrong. This bot lane turret probably not going down, but point still stands. It feels like EDG are getting... True. It's going to be close.
Not even Tristana can deal with the last plate. The last plate's too tanky.
Doesn't do it. But point is, I feel like EDG are not only getting ahead the members they need to, but they're also setting behind the members of RNG that need to be behind. And it's like, again, it doesn't really matter too much in terms of how team fights are going to play out if Xiaohu's strong. I don't think it's going to mean anything in terms of side lane pressure for RNG either. So EDG are playing around their points of power, and they have a 2k gold lead.
And it feels like this is a bit of a mind game between the junglers in this one as well. And when you look at these two junglers, it feels like Wei was the guy that was very hyped up coming into playoffs. I know Dagda especially was really, really hyped on RNG in general, but especially on Wei and Ming. And a lot of people were under the belief that Wei was maybe the best jungler in the league before playoffs started. But it feels like that conversation has been completely thrown up in the air. And in this series specifically, it feels like JJ has really stepped up, is playing very intelligently around his team's strengths to make sure that Viper and Scout are set up in these last two games. But it feels like that was also what was missing in the first two games of this series.
And I think that's a very important note just for the fact that JJ has honestly been probably the worst performing member of EDG throughout playoffs so far. If you remember back to the EDG series versus TS, Karsa just completely had his way with JJ despite the team losing. Which, to be fair, Karsa has pretty much completely had his way with every jungler he's played in playoffs so far, but still, he was the point getting punished even in their winning series. So the fact that he is stepping back up, having some better games in this series, looking more close to that regular season that we saw is pretty good. And I'd say as of the game state now, I think EDG are in a strong position to bring us to that game 5.
You know what, Lyric? That's music to my ears. I sincerely hope that you are correct. I also hope that we have two compositions that have the exact same win conditions in game 5 so that we get some big banger team fights. But that is counting chickens before they have hatched, good sir. And I tell you what, not every egg hatches. We've got a 2,000 gold lead right now in favor of EDG. They have a good composition. They've got a massive lead for JJ. As you say, things are looking good for EDG, but no game is unthrowable. EDG showed us that in game number 3, where they almost threw the win away, and RNG were very willing to try and snag that one up. JJ kept the game alive, though. It's 2 minutes until the Ocean Drake, and EDG are in complete control of the bottom of the map.
That's the thing, right, is EDG are going to consistently win the war over the mid lane wave. Not only the wave clear from Tristana, Syndra's going to outpush Orianna still at this phase in the game. Luckily, Gala did finally pick up his Kraken Slayer, but still, it's going to constantly be, hey, EDG group up as 4 or 5 mid. They're going to fight over that wave. They have more poke coming out on their side. They have more range. They're going to be able to pivot into whichever side of the jungle for the objective they're fighting over. And then, like, they have poke, right? They can just keep throwing out accelerated shock blasts. We saw what Xiaohu was able to do on that pick last time around. They have flanking tools with JJ. We've seen it many times. Hecarim really disrupts front-to-back 5v5 team fights so well. And then you just have so much pick potential, burst, and DPS. Like, they hit all the boxes once they get into those situations.
Yeah, it's just getting into those situations. That's the key thing, right? Positioning correctly, being in the right place at the right time. And that's one of the things that has been one of the big compliments we've given to RNG very regularly across the course of this split. That has been regularly one of the biggest advantages that they've had, is that they've understood the game incredibly well. But here in playoffs, that's not been the case. That's been one of the biggest weaknesses for RNG. It's felt like they haven't understood what their win conditions are, what their opponent's win conditions are. So coming into this series today, it's felt refreshing to see that from them in game 1 and 2. But now they need to just tie a bow on it, right? They need to just be a little more consistent. And that's what they've lacked throughout playoffs, is that consistency.
I think luckily we are seeing it this game though, right? They're playing the objective game. They group up mid. They get that push, go into top side, take the scuttle cramp. They're going to get back on the map now. You expect to see them doing the same as Viper is pushing out this mid wave. Make your way into that bottom side river. And then for RNG, their only answer might be that, hey, Gala's pushing out bot wave. That could be an angle into river to look for these fights. Xiaohu does have TP available. And Xiaohu is doing a good job of at least putting up some side pressure. But EDG are in position to find that poke, find those engages, find a flank if JJ can get behind them. I definitely feel like this dragon fight should be solidly in favor of EDG. As they just give up mid pressure, Joe. At Munchables,
yeah.
I was wrong. I was completely wrong.
Well, luckily for them, RNG are just going to stay mid anyway, so not moving over towards the Baron. Feels like it's going to be neutral, at least for now. And EDG, again, when they have been able to protect these choke points, that is when EDG have looked incredible. Viper straight onto the Drake alongside JJ. RNG are not going to contest this one. Flandre knows that shenanigans are afoot, and suddenly he sees Florida Man over the wall and has to start running for the escape. Wave flashes though. Shockwave pulls Flandre back into the fray. He has to all in. He has to look for anything. But in the meantime, the rest of the game has ended in the mid lane. I don't even know what happened, but a bunch of kills went the way of EDG.
That was so confusing because RNG rotated Xiaohu down first while Flandre was still pushing in a wave top. So I expected RNG would just be very decisive at trying to force some kind of fight. Again, they don't have the best tools to doing that. You would need something like an Udyr flash stun coming out, but is Wei in a sticky situation, Munchables? Is Wei all right?
Florida Man and hiding in bushes near people. Name a more iconic duo. Steals away the blue buff. Might be punished with his life. No, JJ gonna use the ult and then not commit to the play. Bit surprised to see the ult used there, but EDG just gonna have to settle with the mid tower. I think they'll be happy with that.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna see how they're punished in mid. They're just walking far too up to catch the wave. Mako goes in, comes in with a really nice magnet storm as well, hit the E, setting it all up. And it's like, hey, the rest of your team is trying to make that pick on the top side of the map. You even know where EDG is in that scenario. They just took Dragon. There's a notification that pops up on the center of the screen. But they still give over those kills, Munchables.
Yeah, but the problem is they're on the Chinese client, right? I've played in China. When that notification comes up, you can't read what it says. You don't know what's going on. Oh, wait, no. They speak Chinese. Silly me. Although, technically Viper doesn't, but I guess he didn't get caught. Anyway, moving on. They can speak Mandarin is the key takeaway from this one. EDG doing a good job to punish it. And I think maybe Viper and Mako heard people talking smack. I think maybe they heard people saying, look, Viper's not showing up, Mako's not showing up. We're not seeing the game out of them that we wanted to. Because this game, they are far and away ahead of Gala and Ming. Look at the CS difference. Look at the score difference. This is feeling like they're back.
And they're just keeping it so textbook in what they're doing, right? We see, okay, Flandre's consistently having to answer what Xiaohu is doing. We're seeing Scout just catch waves on the opposite side. It's Flandre doesn't have a flash. Flandre's probably dead.
Or maybe not, because he knocks Xiaohu away as the ult comes through. Maybe he still dies anyway. Okay, well, he tried. It looked good, but he still goes down. Taken down by a Nara and a Bear Man. In the meantime, what can EDG do on the top side of the map? Scout looking to answer with a tier 1 here. Should be able to do so.
I think EDG are still fine in a situation like this, right? Because we see that the only play available for RNG is creating picks in the side lane. But that's not going to turn into a tangible win condition like a Dragon, or it's not going to keep up long enough or become enough of a threat where Xiaohu can solo take turrets against Flandre. And we've seen that RNG seem very conscious of that it's very hard for them to win front-to-back 5v5s against EDG's comp. They don't have the same level of frontline. They don't have the same level of engage as Scout's a beautiful scout of the week. That for EDG, it's like, hey, you lose one member, you still get a turret, you're stealing away jungle camps, you're getting vision, and you're primed to win the next Dragon fight or just get it for free.
Yeah, it does feel that way. And we have to talk about the fact that this is an Ocean Soul. This ain't one of those Cloud Souls that we saw last time where it's not the most important objective in the world. If you give EDG an Ocean Soul here, like, forget your Orianna scaling, forget Gala being able to one-shot people. The sustain that will come through there, especially for Hecarim, especially for JJ in the middle of those fights, he's going to be completely invincible with an Ocean Soul.
And this goes to EDG's composition being a comp that not only has power in the early game, but also does better in team fights later on. So we're going to be looking for a big play, I think, especially coming out from Cryin. If Cryin can find a massive shockwave, or Xiaohu, because, man, there are so many clips this season of Xiaohu finding a 4 or 5-man Gnar ultimate that just wins the game. So it's definitely not impossible. It's definitely doable, but, right, the point is it takes outplay potential. It takes abusing mistakes from the enemy team or finding ways to force them into those scenarios which they shouldn't be in the first place.
Yeah, and like it's important to mention with Xiaohu that he played 15 unique top laners this split, but he also played 12 individual games of Gnar across the course of the split. By far his most played top laner, with over a 60% win rate on that pick as well. Definitely his favorite, definitely something he's incredibly competent on. Gala just about gets out with his life here. EDG find themselves at tier 2 and can move towards that all-important Drake. This would be sole point for EDG if they can get this Drake.
They also have really good vision control.
True.
Yeah, they have really good vision control of bot side. You can see even it's not really a flank ward because I don't think any member of EDG necessarily is looking for flanks, but you see that one ward behind the red buff pit as well. They have a ward behind the dragon pit, and it seems like once again RNG are recognizing that, hey, we really can't fight EDG's comp over dragon. Let's try to waste a bit of time, pull them up towards this Baron, and let Xiaohu get some bot side pressure and make EDG react there.
Yeah, and look at that. EDG respect the threat of the Baron coming out from RNG. RNG realize that Drake's coming up. They're like, okay, we'll pretend like we're going to do Baron, pull EDG away from that one. Realize it's not going to happen. EDG answer appropriately. And now their reward is the Drake. But look what RNG are doing on the map here. Cryin pushing all the way to the tier 2. I don't think he's going to be able to stay and push, but it looks like he might go for it anyway. Scout is on the way, as is Mako, but I think the tower might just go down in time. Can Mako and Scout find a pick? These are the two veterans on the side of EDG. They won't be able to close the gap, but they will be able to protect the tower.
And I feel like we're going to start getting into a position where EDG might even just feel confident to start looking for Baron baits. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because you do have a ton of like AoE burst coming out on the side of RNG, right? You're setting up for what could potentially be a giant Gnar ultimate into an Orianna Shockwave or the quickness coming out from Ming. But if you are able to burn any of those tools before, then I feel like you definitely could look to either bait a Baron or when next Dragon comes up, because you have great turn potential on your composition, right? Mako on the Rel, JJ able to get onto the front line or the back line of RNG, and even the Scout of the Week coming out from Scout. So I feel like the name of the game is do what you're doing now, go in the enemy jungle, maybe try to bait a fight, try to burn some tools from RNG, and then you have a lot more options with how you can force on the map right now.
Gala will be able to get mid-prio at very least. Here's the opportunity for RNG. Looking for a pick onto Viper, but they don't get it. JJ in from this side here. Ultimate is available. The Scout of the Week from Scout is unbelievable. And RNG are kicked straight out of the fight. Xiaohu wants to extend it, though, as he goes onto Flandre looking for a solo kill. Shockwave gets 2. In they go. 3v5. They find themselves a kill, and they get away with it as well.
I mean, RNG will take that every single time. You can see they were feeling a bit urgent trying to find that initial pick onto Viper, but Viper has the rocket jump. He's able to get away. 2 easy kills for the side of EDG, but first of all, that damage from Cryin onto Flandre was insane. And then following it up with a Shockwave, setting up for Xiaohu's ultimate as well, and finding a pick, right? That's a free win, I guess, after you kind of delivered yourself a loss. But I could understand.
Oh, no.
Ming?
I thought he was going to go down there, but Viper might have stepped too far. Does use the buster shot to keep himself safe. Xiaohu off on the flank as well. RNG are desperate to contest. They know that they can't afford to let EDG take control of the map, and they are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that doesn't happen.
And we do have core items on both sides. I don't think Xiaohu should be able to do anything here. Scout doesn't have mana. Gala is moving up, but you have other members of EDG arriving now as the cavalry. Important note is that Viper actually just picked up Lord Dominic's Regard, so is going to start hitting a ton against this tanky frontline that RNG do have. We're going to go into a replay and see, hey, Wei goes for the flash stun. It is nice, but not enough follow-up in time for them to burst him out. Now they're just caught between a rock and a hard place. All the members of RNG are here. Nice Scout of the Week done by Scout. But the most interesting part is here where, again, keep your attention onto both Xiao and then Cryin with that nice QW combo. Gets him down, and then bam, massive shockwave. Xiao Decisive follows up. Sadly, they're not able to get a pick onto Mako as well, but hey, that's still one free kill. You'll take it every single time.
Yeah, beautiful stuff from RNG, and that's the thing is they do have the power here in this roster. They do have these playmakers, Xiaohu especially. The Emperor of Spring, he's known often as on the Chinese side because he's always so good during the spring split, and it feels like he is very much living up to that title. The little tiger in the top lane wanted to make plays on the Gnar. He's found JJ here. Has a lot of damage to just keep hammering away. Xiaohu has absolutely no fear of EDG at this point in the game, apparently, as he pushes for more control alongside Wei. Scout being pushed away. Scout of the Week doesn't land, and he's about to turn Mega as well. The fear having to be used defensively by JJ.
And we can see why he is known as, right, the Emperor of Spring, the Tiger King of Spring, because he is stepping up in this game. He was the member that stepped up in the last game to try to keep them in it, finding this damage. Luckily for the side of EDG, is that, hey, sure, you had to blow some ultimates. You got forced off the map. Dragon isn't up for 50 more seconds. Had this happen, 30 seconds in the future, that could have been a big loss for EDG that delayed the game even more, gives more time for this Orianna to get big, gives more time for Gala to pick up some items. And again, that's where we said it gets more down into the details. How do we find these engages? Who's coming in on flanks? What abilities are left open? But luckily for EDG, right, that didn't happen. Dragon's coming up in 30 seconds. Now we're going to fight over the mid-wave.
All right, here we go. We could have a big fight on our hands in 30 seconds here. TP back from Scout. He's just finished a Void Staff. He's hitting real hard. If Gala mispositions, if Cryin mispositions, Scout has the out skill button bound to his R key. It's a good Shock Blast onto Cryin here. Ming looking for a flank on this Rakan. JJ tries to face check in. It's a good stun onto Wei, but they can't quite commit to it just yet. Crying off on the backside. Shockwave only onto one. It's Viper, though, and he's low already as the fight begins. Dragon completely ignored. It's forgotten about because they found a pick onto Flandre, and RNG find themselves another Drake. They deny the Ocean Soul.
And RNG played it so patiently, right? They waited for openings on the enemy team. You see Cryin say, I don't care. I'm going to use my Shockwave onto Viper. I'm going to get down massive damage. But still, Flandre being taken down with Xiaohu finding that one-man ultimate. They were playing a game for picks, and they were able to find the damage, and they were able to find, the pick they needed.
And you know what? We talk about Jace into Gnar being really Jace favored. We talk about how it's a counter matchup. But when you look at the CS numbers and when you look at the scoreboard, doesn't look that favorable for Flandre this game. And Flandre, with his 100% win rate this split on Jace, is suffering here, but he has a teleport available, and EDG know it. They're going to start the Baron off for themselves, and a TP coming in as well. RNG have to contest here. This is EDG's comfort zone, fighting in those chokes. Scatter the Week goes wide, though. That's the opportunity. Xiaohu flashing in. Gnar into the wall, and RNG look for the fight. One for Cryin immediately. Garlet jumps straight on towards Flandre. He's low, doesn't have the damage to turn it around. It's going to be 1-for-1, though. Mid laner's going down here as Mako steps on forward. The ultimate comes out from Scout to turn it around. 3 for 3. Viper jumps forward, looking for more. Scuttle Crab in the middle of everything. He's just Switzerland right now. He's neutral and he wants cover. But Viper charging on forwards. And Ming jumping over to the team, getting a bit of healing off, making Mako looking for another engage, looking for another knock-up. Keep your eyes for Scatter the Week. Scout can turn this fight on its head.
And RNG, okay, not going to go back into it. They kind of looked like they were posturing to go for it, but I want to highlight all the shenanigans of the past few minutes have only benefited RNG because EDG were up to about a 5k gold lead at some point, maybe even slightly higher. That has fallen down. We're getting closer to about a 3 to 2k gold lead for EDG. So RNG slowly clawing back the gold differential, but still was only a 2 for 2 overall. EDG's core members were still left alive. And I can't wait to get into the replay because that fight started off kind of silly with the way Xiaohu TP's in. So keep your eye on. Xiaohu TP'd in. His Mega's almost gone. He doesn't have Flash. He has to Stride Breaker in to find that ultimate. Luckily, he does. But again, RNG break up into 2 different sections. Sure, they do find some kills. Crying with a really nice ultimate, but amazing stopwatch coming out from Viper keeps him alive. Now you don't really have that follow-up engage that you would need to keep the fight going, because remember, it's just Rakan and Udyr. All they're able to do is run forward. No real way to gap close. Sure, I guess Rakan can. Too squishy, will get bursted down.
I love how Xiaohu just has no fear in this series. He knows he is 1 game away from finals. He's been in finals before. He has won before. This guy is an MSI champion, and he wants that feeling again. JJ chasing him down, though. He's not Mega Nard just yet. He will be pushed back towards the rest of the team, but there's a fight on 2 halves right here, and the pick onto Scout is massive for RNG. Xiaohu threatening on the backline. He's about to turn Mega here. Can't get the ult off. Knocked away by Flandre, but Gala's carrying the fight instead. Flandre now locked up by the Stride Breaker. This is the fight that RNG needed. They take control, and they look towards the Baron.
Now we get to see how much confidence RNG has, because Wei's HP is low. Xiaohu is just below half HP as well. Nowhere close to getting Mega Nard. You still have full health bars onto JJ and Viper. JJ has no ultimate, though. EDG, I'm surprised.
There's no way.
I kind of thought they'd still contest. But Munchables, the
can't.
outplay, the mojo.
They don't have the ultimates available. There's no way JJ can get in, right?
If it was top esports Munchables, they would have contested.
But Caster is a different breed. Caster's built different, man.
That's also why they're out of the tournament, though, probably, to be fair, right?
Yeah, so true.
We're going to get a replay. All of EDG tunneled down. It leaves this massive opening on the Scout. Wei does run in. Luckily, he's tanky enough to not just get bursted. Mako trying to follow up. Really nice accelerated shock blast from Flandre, but still doesn't add up to enough. Mako was zoned out the whole time and got taken down. And that burst right there on Flandre was what surprised me the most. Luckily, EDG did find one in the end, but you highlighted it. RNG got the Baron. EDG weren't top esports. They're not going to contest something 2v4. And we're back to fighting for River Vision. Xiaohu doesn't have Flash, but Wei does. So I think we're keeping our eyes on Wei right now if a massive engage comes out.
And we're seeing Flandre, the other side of the coin, right? With this Jace pick 1, 5, and 3. Not able to do as much as the previous Jace game that we saw here. But he is hitting a power spike here on the 3 items. Will do a lot of damage in this fight if he can find the right targets. But RNG are not afraid of EDG. We need a big ult from Mako. We need a big ult from JJ if EDG are to win one of these fights. Ocean Drake has spawned and Gala is straight on top of it. This should just be the Drake taken before the fight even goes on. And RNG even up on soul point apiece.
And I mean, now the gold in the game is pretty even. I think EDG didn't want to opt into that fight because Scout doesn't have Flash and Viper as well doesn't have Flash. So their 2 core carries dishing out all the damage would be put in harm's way. And remember, even if you don't have a ton of gap closers, you still do have Stride Breaker on Gnar. He still has the hop. Gala is always able to follow in on any opportunity he sees with the killer instinct and just burst someone out. So I think respectable decision by EDG to not opt into that fight when they don't need to, when they can wait for key summoners to come up.
And that's one of the key things about EDG all year, right? Is that they have been controlled. They have played quote-unquote correct League of Legends. When there isn't an opportunity, they generally don't try and just brute force it like a lot of the teams in the LPL will. But let's just quickly point out that the gold is almost exactly even. We are as close as you can be this late in the game. 4 minutes until that Ocean Drake comes up. 30 seconds left of the Baron buff, but realistically, I don't think RNG will be able to do much with that 30 seconds, as EDG can threaten on any side of the board. That said, Cryan is up in the top side with a pretty big wave. Might be able to get a tier 2 here.
Yeah, he should be able to lock this one down. I think for the side of RNG, they've still been playing the map well. They're going to look for resets. We're going to get back on the map, right? Start resetting up Vision again. For EDG, though, I want to highlight them specifically because, again, they have been on a lot of losing situations in the past few minutes. To me, the members we need to be looking out for are Flandre, Viper, and Mako. Mako needs to be the one since a lot of RNG's composition is very short and mid-range, right? They're going to get close to you. You need to be able to lock them down. Viper, of course, is the main DPS, and Flandre will do a surprising amount of burst, does have the Sorelda's Grudge, so does have that 30% armor pen, and this is the point where Scout's damage will start falling off against these tanks, as when we saw he hit his full combo against Wei in that last skirmish, and it really did nothing. And then you look at Xiaohu, he already is a force of nature as well, so Syndra not going to do anything to him. We're looking at Flandre, we're looking at Viper, and we're looking at Mako.
And for me, it's especially Viper. This series, after an entire split of being, I think, pretty much unarguably the best AD carry in the league, he is
maybe the best player.
Now, maybe the best player. 3-0-6, a 700 gold bounty. This guy is in the position to carry. He is set up. He has the tools required. If there's a big engage from JJ and Mako, as you say, he can be that dominant carry. But the thing is, Gala in this matchup, the Tristana versus the Kai'Sa, it feels like Gala's been the one having the edge. He's been the one finding the right positions and assassinating Viper.
And now Munchables, off of that recall, he's now full build. He has every item, right? Has the GA, has the Runons, has the Collectors. So Gala is big right now. Look at Krine's inventory as well. He's on his way to that death cap, so went for the much more expensive purchase. You look at Scout on the opposite side, did have to opt into that Void Staff. Yeah,
he's
I think
recalling.
RNG,
Let's see what he gets. It is the sorting hat, and he's been sorted into Gryffindor. He's a Cadral subscriber. Who would have expected it?
Well, Munchables, your young, hip references go straight over my head. But,
What's a Harry Potter? It's like over a decade old, mate.
Whoa. Munchables, that is relative to age, but point is, we got some League of Legends going on, Munchables. We got some posturing around mid lane. We have some wards coming out, some CS going down. And that's it.
Actually, the CS numbers are going up, I will say, across the board. EDG are in trouble. Here we go. RNG looking for the fight here, but it's completely denied. Nobody is allowed in, but it's going to be Scout caught out. He went too deep on the play, and now Viper, the sole carry for EDG. RNG want to force more. They'll get at least a tier 2 here, but you know Xiaohu wants to make it into more. He wants to go deeper, but he's about to turn into the mini-Nart, so can't go too far in. I'm not entirely sure what happened to Scout, how he ended up so far deep in the fight.
Well, the thing that's so strange to me, right, is that engage came out of nowhere. No Dragon was up for a minute when that fight started. Baron still was like not close to being up. They weren't fighting over anything. They were posturing mid, and suddenly Ming just seems like he finds an angle, gets on top of Scout. They're gonna force this Baron. JJ doesn't have ultimate. Looks like RNG can just burn this one down.
They're actually going to get it as well. EDG would just have to source. Scout has TP in 10 seconds time. If EDG can stop recalls, maybe they could find a pick, but it's actually going to be Xiaohu TPing in. Oh no, it's Crying on the backside. It's both of them. It's a double TP. Xiaohu about to turn Mega as well. Looking for a way in because the Ocean Drake is on the map and EDG want the soul point for themselves. In goes Xiaohu with the 3-man no! The shockwave is in and it's absolute chaos in the fight. Scout on the backside, but he's alone in the world. Viper jumps out the far side of the fight as Gala gets a double kill for himself. Scout trying to escape, but Xiaohu will not let EDG's mid laner go. He's the better mid and he's playing in the top lane. Wei chasing down onto Viper now, and it's a huge fight for RNG. It's the sole point, though, for EDG.
Munchables, and they're making the play to end. This is what they need to do. They have a 40-second death timer on Scout, 30-second death timer on Flandre. Wei, just stop. Keep stopping these recalls. Push down mid because Xiaohu found the massive opportunity.
So Wei stopping the recall from Viper here, keeping him busy, sacrificing his life potentially as he finally goes down. They're onto the Nexus Towers. Is this the way that RNG makes it to final? JJ pulls the wave for the second game in this series. JJ stalls the minion wave. He sacrifices his life, but he holds onto the game.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't just keep ignoring him, have Xiaohu take the turret and look for the end. But Wei did go down in the meantime to Viper, so maybe not having the confidence that they can pull off that timing perfectly. And we need to remember, they also gave over Ocean Soul, right? EDG were the team to pick that up. But what a crazy sequence of events. And again, it was all started by another massive Gnar ultimate coming out of Xiaohu.
And such an explosive fight there as well, where so many ultimates going off at the same time right at the start of the fight that it's difficult to even see what's going on. It's difficult to figure out who's getting on top of it. It's just a giant dog pile in the river. But now, Ocean Soul in favor of EDG, they didn't lose the game. That's the important thing. They got the objective. They survived. They can maintain a fairly neutral mid lane, right? You can deal with super minions this late on into the game. So ultimately, I would actually say it's a win for EDG.
And Munchables, we're at the point in the game where what we're looking at for team fights is we're pretty much looking at what summoners are up, who has things like their GA available, or who's going to win a fight. Xiaohu!
He's gone way too deep on this one. He's feared, but he's about to turn Mega, and he is real tanky. Gets the ult off, but he goes down for his trouble. Ming went too far to try and save the top laner, and they've bitten off far more than they could chew. Huge opportunity now for EDG.
That was so disappointing to see coming out from RNG. Again, I'm not really quite sure what they were trying to achieve. The wave was crashing into the bot turret. Seems like Xiaohu just wanted to try and have RNG able to pressure in 2 lanes, right? Because they did have that inhibitor broken open in mid. But for a game that, for the past about 5-6 minutes, has been squarely RNG controlled, I think this gives EDG a big window to start fighting back.
This is the opportunity, right? You've got 20 seconds on. Xiaohu won't have TP when he comes up either. Ming isn't available. Who's going to engage the fight? What, Wei just runs straight at them? He'll get... You know, he's a tanky Udyr. He's only got 2 items. Look how many items the carries have. He cannot just run into this team. Now EDG will crack the mid lane inhibitor for themselves. It's neutral. Wei, he's trying to make things happen. He's trying to be sneaky, but it ain't happening.
One thing I want to point out, going back to the point before, is the fact that Scout and Viper's flashes are almost up. You still have a bit of time on Gala, and you still have a bit of time on Cryan. This is a window that EDG can look to play around, and it looks like they want to, right? They realize those are about to come up. The one big thing is Gala does still have GA, and Viper does not.
Look at Ming and Wei, though. Looking to steal a couple of jungle camps here, get some deep vision. Next objective onto the map will be pretty much simultaneously Baron and Elder. They're about 20 seconds apart, which means there's not really much of a window to take both. It could be a trade, it could be a fight. We'll have to wait and see. But honestly, this is exactly what I wanted out of this series, Lyric. We finally get these close, tight games. We get Viper finally showing up. We get Scout having some insane moments, some moments where he's caught out. It feels like everything is on the line. The players are all awake and playing. We're getting a great game.
I also respect and like how so much action has started happening that the observers have just kind of been like, we can't do replays. We don't know when the next thing that's going to pop up. We still don't know how Scout got caught in the mid lane in that initial fight where it just popped up out of nowhere. But, you know, point is, I like what you're putting out, Munchables. These teams are going toe-to-toe. They're fighting back and forth. And for me, RNG are running the more, I'd say... Like they need to hit a big ultimate, in my opinion, for a team fight to work out, right? It needs to be something massive from Gnar. We need to see a nice shockwave come out from Cryan. If EDG are just able to hit front to back with how big Tristana is right now, with the damage Flandre is able to put out onto Gala and Cryan, I think they're going to be in a really solid position.
Not to mention there's basically no healing reduction on the side of RNG. You've got the Oblivion Orb for Cryan, and that's about it. So the Ocean Soul will get massive value on the side of EDG, who are looking for a priority in the mid lane. JJ doing a bit of a roundabout, jumps into the fray, jumps out of the fray, has an Ocean Soul, so we don't really care about his health bar. And now posturing towards the Baron for EDG, but remember, 20 seconds apart are the Baron and the Elder Drake. I don't think that this is going to go down without a fight. Xiaohu almost in Mega Gnar. And RNG, they can fight for mid lane here.
Yeah, that's the thing is EDG need to respect the Mega Gnar bar coming up for Xiaohu. They can't walk through that choke point. Xiaohu's doing a fantastic job of just zoning them out.
He's stunned against the wall, turns into Mega though, but can't get anything done. That's going to be a splash use, and Ming goes in as he goes out. The shockwave though can turn it around. Flandre turns golden. Wei's dead in the backline. Flandre flashes out safety. The scan of the week from Scout just turns the fight on his head, and maybe EDG can hold on to this one. 2 for 1.
Munchables, I honestly can't believe RNG once again carries funneling over a wall into another choke point against EDG. Scout's untouched, Viper's untouched. Sure, they have to blow their flashes, but when you're putting yourself in harm's way like that, you yourself are going to have to burn those flashes. RNG trying to make them go for this trade, but I think EDG should be happy taking the Elder Dragon.
Wei isn't here. JJ has smite. He can just walk in and smite this one away if RNG stay. They have to back away. They realize it. It's going to be completely denied. In the meantime, Flandre is doing the Elder Drake. Everything's going the way of EDG right now. We could be looking at the full 5 games.
And now they're just going to pivot to Baron themselves. I love that you highlight that Wei was down because, honestly, JJ probably could have just walked up with only one other member of EDG and just be like, hey guys, I have smite. And instantly RNG would need to back off the objective. I mean, you have Baron, you have Elder, you just group up as 5, you push down mid, you land some of those accelerated shock blasts, you land a scout of the week, you think about it, a couple abilities hit, and you're automatically going to trigger that execute.
Yeah. That Scout of the Week as well in that fight was so huge. We'll just rename the ability. It can be Scout of the Week now because that was just beautiful to see. Viper as well, having a flawless teamfight performance in this game. Still has his GA available. Didn't even get significantly threatened. Positioning beautifully. And that's exactly what we needed to see. We needed to see Viper stepping up. He has been so quiet in this series. And it feels like he's survived the early game this time. He's got the items and now he's in teamfight mode.
That Scout of the Week was beautiful, but the fact that all of RNG's members did just like hop over that wall and faceplant right into them, it looked kind of good at first because they bursted one member out, but then it's like, hey, wait. Again, we're all clumped up against all of these abilities that EDG have that are really good against us. And now EDG just keep pushing on the base.
Yeah, JJ can just walk in here with the Ocean Soul. EDG know that they can just win the fight. I'd love for them to push sideways with the Baron buff, I'm not going to lie, but they want to just end the game. They're going to take this mid inhib again. The wave is pushing in, and they're going to try and dive the Nexus here, Lyric.
I think the thing they're afraid of is giving RNG an opportunity to get on top of them in a 5v4 because, right, we're so late in the game, everyone's close to full build, you just burst the enemy team instantly if you catch someone out.
Let's see if anyone's caught out. EDG just going to stay clumped up and look to try and finish things. They're getting onto the Nexus towers with these Baron minions, but not really committing.
Oh!
There's the ulti in. The combo is just too beautiful from EDG. Gala is alone in the world. He's trying his best, but there's nothing you can do against 5. The Elder is too strong. The ult combo is too strong. The Scat of the Week from Scout again as EDG take us to Silver Scrapes.
You said it, Munchables. The Scatter the Weeks this game were just amazing coming out from Scout. He finally gets on a champion that provides more agency within the game, has some CC tools, has some tools to find picks of his own. And this is a champion that, you know, we've all been criticizing. Seems like analysts, fans, everyone alike agrees. Like, Syndra right now isn't really in a great state. Very hard to play out in terms of like the meta and the nerfs she's